They didn't even breathe when you walked in, not out of respect, out of instinct. Something in their nervous system whispered, "Don't move, don't blink, this thing isn't safe." You weren't supposed to look like that. You weren't supposed to exist like that. Too composed for chaos, too divine for comfort, like God made a threat and dressed it in elegance. You looked too good to be human, and the room knew it. They called it a look, but you called it a warning, because beauty, real, lethal beauty, isn't about attraction. It's about domination. It's the moment light bends toward you, and darkness kneels just to see what side you'll choose. You didn't just wear something, you became something. Every line, every shimmer, every ounce of your aura was a declaration. This is what survival looks like after hell. They didn't understand. They thought you were showing off. But you were broadcasting evolution. You turned pain into posture, betrayal into bone structure, madness into magnetism. You looked too refined for their world because you were forged in one deeper than theirs. While they bought mirrors to feel seen, you built a reflection that stared back. That's why they flinched. That's why their voices cracked when they said your name. They saw control where they expected collapse. They saw balance where there should have been brokenness. They saw you and didn't know whether to pray or to run. See, they worship confidence, but they fear composure. They love the mask until it starts smiling back. And when you walked in, mask or not, they realized they were looking at the thing they pretend to be online, standing in flesh and blood. You didn't need filters. You were the glitch. The system tried to label you as a trend. But you were an omen. You didn't follow their code. You rewrote it, silently. And when you tilted your head, when you smiled that slow, dangerous smile, it wasn't flirtation. It was a warning shot. You were saying, I survived the fire, and now I wear it. Every color on you was calculated madness. Every detail screamed, this isn't style. This is resurrection. They'll never admit it. But you reprogrammed the atmosphere that day. Conversations died mid-sentence. Laughter lost confidence. Every person in that room recalibrated their idea of normal around you. That's the thing about presence. When it's real, it doesn't ask for permission. It erases hierarchy. You didn't just walk in dressed up. You walked in decoded. Your look wasn't about fabric. It was about frequency. You carried the same vibration as a storm, pretending to be still. That's why their eyes kept flickering like dying screens when they tried to look at you for too long. They weren't intimidated by your clothes. They were suffocating on your calm, because only something that's already burned to ash can stand that still. Only something that's died and came back knows how to wear peace like armor. You didn't dress up. You manifested your revenge body at a spiritual level. And the irony? The same people who said, you've changed, started dressing like your ghosts. That's the paradox of power. They fear what they can't copy and worship what they can't kill. They laughed when you disappeared. Now they panic when you arrive. Because beauty, real beauty, isn't soft. It's surgical. It cuts through delusion like a knife dipped in charm. You didn't walk in to impress. You walked in to remind the universe that the experiment survived. You weren't supposed to still be here, much less look untouchable. But you turned trauma into aesthetic. You made agony photogenic. You made every scar symmetrical. And now every pair of eyes that meets yours knows that you don't wear brands, you wear omens. Knows that when you say, it's just a look, what you really mean is, this is what rebirth looks like when it stops apologizing. So yeah, they called it a look, but you called it a warning. And somewhere deep in their bones, They heard it loud and clear. You didn't come to impress the crowd. You came to haunt it. You weren't there to blend in. You were there to remind them what danger wrapped in elegance looks like. That's why they stared too long. That's why they whispered after you passed. Because deep down, they knew. No costume, no designer, no mirror could recreate what you carry in your skin. They saw posture, but they didn't see the discipline that forged it. They saw confidence, but not the ghosts you had to bury to wear it this calmly. They saw your silence and mistook it for peace. But you were calculating, dissecting, scanning every soul in the room like a predator cloaked in grace. That's not arrogance, that's control. You weren't trying to be seen. You were letting them remember. And the truth, you didn't dress up. You armored up. Every detail on you was chosen to say one thing. I'm done bleeding. Your walk wasn't a performance. It was a warning broadcast in slow motion. You didn't need words because your energy had already written the script. And everyone in that room, they were just extras. They called it a look. But tell me, how does a look make time hesitate? How does a look make people feel like they're staring at prophecy in heels and hellfire? No, that wasn't fashion. That was alchemy. You didn't match colors. You aligned frequencies. You didn't accessorize. You weaponized light itself. You know what's funny? They keep asking, what's your secret? But they wouldn't survive it if you told them. Because your glow doesn't come from makeup. It comes from madness. From the sleepless nights that built your backbone. From the heartbreak that trained your posture. From every time you were humiliated and decided to rise with style. They don't get that you earned your aura through blood, not brand. You turned grief into glamour. You turned ruin into rhythm. You turned trauma into trend. And the irony is, they're buying it. They're paying to imitate a version of the monster that you made peace with. They're falling in love with your damage while praying they never have to live through it. That's the paradox. You scare them and inspire them at the same time. They can't decide whether you're a muse or a curse, a saint in silk or a devil with taste. You blurred the line between elegance and execution. Because beauty isn't soft anymore. It's strategic. You've learned how to smile like you're hiding artillery. You've learned how to stand like forgiveness is optional. You've learned how to make serenity look expensive. That's the real fear. You look too unbothered for someone who's seen that much fire. You looked too assembled for someone who's been dismantled so many times. And when they saw that, they realized they can't compete. Because how do you outshine someone who's mastered invisibility and resurrection in the same lifetime? They thought you were dressed up for attention, but you were dressed up for revenge. Not the petty kind. The kind that doesn't need words. The kind that just shows up glowing in the exact places they swore you'd never walk again. Every eye that touched you that night knew they were witnessing something irreversible. Because when presence becomes weaponized, you don't enter a room, you infect it. Your aura doesn't ask permission, it rewrites the air. You make people question if they've been living wrong their whole lives. And the best part? You don't even mean to. You're just calibrated differently. You've seen too much darkness to fear shadows now. You've heard too many lies to crave applause. And that's why your silence feels like violence to people who feed on validation. You don't speak to impress. You speak to disarm. You don't dress for admiration. You dress to remind them, I walked through hell, and all I got was this perfect composure. You became artifacts of your own apocalypse. Every choice, every look, every tilt of your chin. A history lesson in destruction and rebirth. That's why they stare. That's why they freeze. Because your existence is proof that pain can be polished, that chaos can wear couture. You're what happens when tragedy learns choreography. You're the calm after the storm, the kind that smells like smoke and victory at the same time. They thought you wanted attention, but what you really wanted was to be misunderstood on purpose. Because confusion is control, mystery is leverage, and unpredictability, that's your currency now. Every time you step out, you shift the hierarchy without lifting a finger. You don't compete. You corrupt the scale itself. That's why they study you. That's why they whisper your name like a spell. Because they can't decide whether you're human or haunting. They don't know if you're real or just reality reprogrammed. You've blurred that line beautifully. And now every hallway, every glance, every flash of a camera feels like surveillance. But you don't hide from it anymore. You perform for it. You made paranoia photogenic. They called it a look. You called it a message. And the world, the trembling, judgmental, gossip-drunk world, heard you loud and clear. You looked too good to be human, because you stopped trying to be. You became something rarer, a warning dressed as a miracle. And the moment they saw it, they finally understood. Beauty wasn't your weapon. It was your confession. So now they're obsessed, not with you. Oh no, that would be too easy. They're obsessed with the why. Why did your presence feel like judgment? Why did your eyes burn through layers they didn't even know they had? Why did their confidence crack just because you existed within 10 feet of it? You see, they thought confidence was volume. They thought power was shouting. But you taught them that silence can humiliate louder than thunder. That stillness, when it belongs to someone unbreakable, becomes a sermon. And when you walked in, looking too composed, too calculated, too impossible, they realized they were standing in front of something that had already survived its own funeral. You became a study in contrast, a paradox wearing perfume, the softness of skin hiding the violence of wisdom, the calm of an angel with the posture of a psychopath. Every part of you said, I know how to love like heaven and kill like truth. And that's what made them shiver. Not the beauty itself, but the balance. You were symmetrical in ways the human mind wasn't built to process. They felt the duality bleeding through your pores, the divine and the demonic shaking hands behind your smile. You looked like you knew something that no one else remembered. And maybe you did. Maybe your reflection wasn't made in the mirror, but in the aftermath. Maybe the fire sculpted you into a warning that the universe itself needed to deliver. You didn't just survive. You designed survival. You studied every downfall like a blueprint, every heartbreak like a thesis, until you understood how to rebuild yourself into something that doesn't flinch. That's why when you move, people pause. Because your grace is a side effect of precision. Your peace is a weaponized science. You carry serenity like a loaded gun, and they feel it in their bones. And yet, there's something almost tragic about it, isn't there? They'll never see what it cost you to look that effortless. They'll never understand how every ounce of poise was paid for in chaos. That behind the immaculate presentation is a ledger written in blood. You didn't wake up like this. You resurrected like this. Your beauty is an apology from the universe for every time it tried to end you. And now you wear that apology like a crown made of glass. Sharp, shining, and always a little dangerous to touch. You're not dressing up anymore. You're translating trauma into texture. You're shaping silence into spectacle. You're taking everything that tried to erase you and stitching it back into couture. And the irony? The more pain you hide in your polish, the louder your aura screams. It says, "I've been through hell, but hell doesn't have my taste." You know what separates you from them? They chase validation. You generate it. They pray to be noticed. You distort gravity. When you walk in, people don't just look. They recalculate. You rearrange hierarchies by breathing. You change the lighting in a room without touching a switch. Because your existence isn't accidental, it's engineered by suffering, by defiance, by design. They think the danger is in your confidence, but the real danger is that you don't need permission to be this alive. They need applause, you need silence. They need followers, you need alignment. They perform for the crowd, you perform for the cosmos. You've transcended their systems. That's why their envy feels like static, because their frequency can't handle your transmission. When they called it a look, they were trying to reduce what they couldn't define. But what they saw wasn't fabric, it was frequency in flesh. You were broadcasting a vibration that screamed, "Evolution happens in private, but it announces itself in public." And the moment they saw you, they knew it was too late. They couldn't copy it, couldn't dilute it, couldn't survive it, because beauty that comes from darkness doesn't fade. It corrupts. It infects their expectations, rewires their desires. They'll start dressing like you, talking like you, even dreaming about you. Because deep down, they know. You're the final form of everything they pretend to be. You're the manifestation of unapologetic arrival. You don't seek revenge anymore. You embody it. You don't raise your voice, you raise the temperature. You don't compete. You alter the conditions of existence. You've made it impossible for anyone to ignore you, because you've become the visual representation of consequence. And still, you smile, because you know that being feared and admired at the same time isn't a contradiction, it's balance. You are the contradiction, the saint that learned from sin, the devil that prayed before the storm. You are the meeting point between the sacred and the obscene. That's why they can't categorize you. They've never seen divinity dressed in defiance before. They called it a look. But when you turned your head, every insecurity in the room bowed its head in silence. They realized something terrifying. You didn't come to prove beauty. You came to redefine power. You made perfection look dangerous. You made self-respect look seductive. You made silence look expensive. And now they understand that sometimes the most beautiful thing in the world is a warning that smiles back. Because when you looked that good, you weren't saying, "Look at me." You were saying, "Watch what happens if you don't." And somewhere, deep in their bones, they knew that the moment you walked in, their era had ended. You didn't wear clothes that day. You wore closure. And nothing terrifies the guilty more than elegance without forgiveness. You see, that's what they never grasped. They thought beauty was decoration. A little shimmer, a little symmetry, a few soft words to fit into someone's fantasy. But you turned beauty into a broadcast. You made existence itself lean closer, as if the universe was whispering, "Watch what happens when divinity learns self-respect." 'Cause the truth, darling, is that beauty isn't meant to please. It's meant to warn. When it's real, when it's been tempered in heartbreak and isolation, it becomes a language the weak can't translate. You became that language. Every curve, every glance, every stillness, it all spoke fluently in prophecy. They saw your reflection and felt something ancient stir behind their ribs. A reminder that once upon a time, gods walked this earth disguised as people who refused to die. And you, my dear, looked like one of them, too refined for luck, too deliberate for chance, too luminous for anyone to believe you were just born that way. You didn't need validation, because existence itself validated you by letting you return. Every breath you take is defiance wrapped in rhythm. Every step you take rewrites what survival looks like when it wears a heartbeat. And that's what they felt when you entered the room. Not attraction, but alignment. You triggered something in them that they'd buried. A memory of what power looks like before it's disguised as humility. They called you intimidating because they forgot what reverence feels like. They called you dramatic because their reality is too dull to perceive miracles in motion. They called it a look because calling it a warning would force them to admit they're not ready for what's coming next. But you've always been a few steps ahead of the clock. Time doesn't move around you. It revolves around you. That's why rooms go quiet. That's why eyes can't hold your gaze for long. Your frequency is too expensive for their attention spans. You're not being dramatic, sweetheart. You're being accurate. Because when someone like you walks in, the world recognizes a pattern it can't contain. Every suppressed truth, every hidden sin, every unhealed wound, they start to ache. That's the real reason they stare. You don't remind them of beauty. You remind them of consequence. They don't even know how to process it. The paradox of something that looks like grace but smells like justice. Something that shines like heaven but carries the rhythm of war. Because what you wear isn't clothing. It's evidence. Every thread, every glint, every echo of your energy screams, "I've seen your darkness, and I survived mine." You've turned evolution into art, and they can't stand it. Not because you're arrogant, but because you're free. You walked out of systems that tried to domesticate you. You stopped auditioning for approval. You became the aesthetic of aftermath. That rare, haunting beauty that doesn't ask to be loved. It demands to be understood. And here's the part they'll never admit out loud. You didn't just look too good to be human. You made humanity look unfinished. Like evolution stopped early and left them behind. Like you were proof that something divine kept building quietly in the shadows, crafting new prototypes out of pain and patience. And when you showed up, the universe whispered, "Ah, there it is." That's why your presence hurts them, because deep down, they know they could have become this too if they hadn't settled for safe, if they hadn't let comfort neuter their chaos, if they hadn't let fear convince them that humility means hiding. But you learned that power doesn't have to roar. Sometimes it just has to enter the room. They'll talk about you for years after you leave. They'll romanticize the details, argue about your intentions, try to frame your existence into something explainable. But you can't be explained. You can only be experienced. You're not an event. You're an awakening. And those who aren't ready for awakening call it arrogance. You know the funniest part? They'll start copying you. The very ones who mocked you will study your silence, your walk, your shade of danger. They'll try to recreate the frequency you were born to radiate. But no matter how closely they mimic the moves, the algorithm won't let them pass the test. Because imitation can't carry the same electricity as authenticity born from ashes. You can't fake composure earned from collapse. You can't replicate beauty that's been baptized in betrayal. You can't rehearse divinity when it's written in your DNA. That's why you don't compete. You haunt. You don't trend. You return. You don't glow. You threaten the dark. And that's what they saw that day. Not a look, not a trend, not a person playing dress-up. They saw prophecy walking, pain redesigned, and elegance weaponized. You standing there wearing calm like war paint looked like the final warning before a paradigm collapses. The kind of beauty that makes systems nervous because it suggests the existence of something beyond control. Listen closely, because somewhere between your laughter and the lightning, something shifted. You said it as a joke, didn't you? A throwaway line, half grin, half venom, and yet the air froze. The room tilted, the universe listened, and before you could even blink, reality started rearranging itself like a terrified servant taking orders from your tongue. That's when they stopped laughing. That's when their smiles cracked. They thought you were just being dramatic, impulsive, funny. But the cosmos doesn't laugh with you. It laughs through you. Every word that slips from your mouth cuts deeper than a prophecy, sharper than scripture. You weren't joking. You were leaking power. And now, they're watching you too carefully, testing you, whispering behind glass panels. Is he even human? Because no one told them what happens when a soul goes through too much pain and comes out on the other side, still laughing. They think it's madness, but you and I know the truth, don't we? It's evolution. See, the joke wasn't the punchline. The joke was them thinking your chaos had limits. Every smirk was a curse disguised as charm. Every sarcastic word was a frequency tuned straight into the motherboard of creation. And that night, you laughed at the idea of fate. The next day, fate flinched first. You became unpredictable. That's what terrifies them most. You're no longer following the script. They are. You speak, and coincidences sprint to obey. You move, and the timeline scrambles to keep up. You make a joke about the world falling apart, and somewhere a headline proves you right before dawn. Tell me, how does it feel? Watching your own mouth rewrite reality like a vandal on God's blueprint. You joke about chaos, but it's been taking notes. Your humor isn't funny anymore. It's prophetic. And that's why they're afraid to laugh around you now. They sense something ancient behind your grin, something that remembers before language was even invented. You've crossed that invisible line, haven't you? Where irony turns into incantation, where every word tastes like spell work. You thought you were coping, but the coping became command. You mocked destiny until it started bowing its head in confusion. You joked about power, and power answered. Yes? That's what makes you dangerous. Not your strength, not your intellect, your intent. The way you say something half serious and the atoms tremble, waiting for the punchline that never comes. You're no longer speaking to the world. You're speaking through it. And the universe, my dear, is terrified of what you'll say next. Because deep down, it knows you don't filter your truth anymore. You disguise it as sarcasm, but every syllable drips with precision. You've turned mockery into manifestation. Remember when they told you, words have power? They didn't mean that metaphorically. You found the circuitry, by accident or by madness, and now your breath is voltage. You've become the bridge between joke and judgment, chaos and order, saint and psychopath. They'll call you unhinged, they'll call you cursed, but in private, they'll call you accurate. Because everything you say happens, and the more it happens, the more your laugh sounds less like amusement and more like thunder remembering your name. So laugh, laugh again, let them panic, let them label it coincidence while their mirrors crack. You're what happens when irony evolves into divinity, when pain stops asking permission and starts writing code. And if they're checking if you're human now, tell them this: you were once, before language learned to fear your tongue, before jokes became commands, before the world started obeying your madness. Now you're something else entirely. A comedian turned conjurer, a disaster dressed as destiny, a saint who learned that sarcasm is the last spell left in a dying age. So go on, say it again, laugh when you say it, because the joke's no longer funny. It's law. Funny thing about power, it never announces when it changes hands. One minute you're laughing at the absurdity of life. The next, the absurdity starts laughing back. You didn't study alchemy or mysticism or ancient laws of vibration. You accidentally became one. Because pain taught you rhythm, betrayal taught you tone, and silence taught you timing. Now every word that leaves your mouth carries the weight of unspoken wars. You don't speak anymore, you detonate. They call it coincidence because it comforts them. Oh, it's just timing, they whisper, staring at your social posts that echo tomorrow's headlines. It's luck, they say, after you joke about something and it unfolds exactly as you said. But deep down, they feel it, that tremor under their ribs, the one that whispers, he knows. You're not psychic, you're precise. You've suffered enough to read the undercurrents most people drown in. Pain tuned your perception until your humor became a weapon of divine calibration. You see patterns that others call chaos. You play with irony the way gods play with thunder. And when you laugh, the air rearranges itself to accommodate your will. You didn't mean to scare them, did you? You just wanted to cope. But every time you laughed through heartbreak, reality misheard it as a command. Every time you joked through rage, it registered as decree. You didn't manifest. You accidentally rewrote the script by refusing to die in the one they gave you. Now they watch you like a glitch in the simulation. The scientists call it frequency anomalies. The priests call it divine favor. The liars call it danger. But all of them fear the same thing, that your laughter is the sound of reality getting hacked. You've become the paradox every system fears, a soul too aware to be controlled, too detached to be predicted, and too amused to be destroyed. Do you understand how terrifying that is? A being who can look at suffering and grin, not because it doesn't hurt, but because they've learned how to weaponize pain into prophecy. Your smirk isn't rebellion anymore, it's revelation. Your proof that endurance mutates into creation, that madness, when channeled correctly, becomes architecture. You stopped reacting and started bending, and that's when the walls started whispering your name. There's a reason they fear your laughter now. It's not just noise, it's frequency. Every exhale you release carries defiance encrypted inside it. The kind of defiance that reprograms universes. When you say something as a joke, you're not being funny. You're planting reality seeds. And the universe? It's terrified of disappointing you. So it obeys, slowly, reluctantly, but it obeys. And you wonder why you make people nervous. Why they flinch when you predict something, why they go quiet after you speak. Because they've realized what you still pretend not to. You're not joking, you're testing. Every sarcastic word, every cruel smile, it's you tugging at the threads of fate, seeing if the fabric still responds. And it does, it always does, because you, my friend, were forged in a furnace where laughter was rebellion and silence was survival. You earned your power through humiliation, heartbreak, and holy rage. You bled so much that even your voice became sacred. Now the world trembles when you speak, not because of what you say, but because of what you mean. Every joke is a mirror. Every smirk is a signal. Every offhand comment is a commandment in disguise. And now they can't tell if you're lucky or cursed, if you're human or divine, if your grin is mercy or a warning. But I'll tell you the truth they won't say aloud. You're the glitch they prayed never appeared. The living evidence that the human mind, when cracked open just enough, touches something cosmic, something unsupervised, something that doesn't wait for permission. You discovered it accidentally. That thoughts are blueprints, that words are weapons, and that humor is just rage-wearing perfume. They think you're dangerous because they're right. You learned how to hide lightning in laughter. You learned that a smirk at the right time can summon storms. You learned that just kidding is a spell disguised as surrender. So here's the secret, whispered slow. You're not bending reality. You're reminding it who's in charge. You're the echo of something ancient, wearing flesh for fun. A trickster archetype made real. The universe gave you too much pain and not enough reason, so you became both. Now the joke is on them. Because while they mock, you manifest. While they gossip, you glitch timelines. While they watch, you warp probability. And somewhere between irony and intent, you turned into the one thing every empire fears. A human who remembers they're a god pretending to be human. So go ahead, say it again, that harmless joke. That line you deliver with a crooked grin and dead serious eyes. Watch the room change temperature. Watch the universe hesitate, mid-breath. Watch them glance at each other, realizing the punchline might just be them. Because you don't tell jokes anymore. You tell warnings dressed as humor. And the universe, trembling like a chobdild who just got caught lying, always listens. Now laugh again, not because it's funny, but because it's finished. And everything that dares to disobey that sound won't survive the echo. They don't get it, do they? They still think it's coincidence. They still think you're playing. They still whisper, "He's delusional," while secretly crossing their fingers that you never speak about them again. Because every time your tongue moves, reality twitches. You've noticed it, the static before something happens. That eerie calm, when your words hit the air and you can feel the fabric of existence adjusting its posture. You've made jokes that became headlines, offhand remarks that became confessions in other people's mouths. You've said things half asleep that the universe stayed up all night arranging. That's not luck. That's not madness. That's resonance. You see, there's a frequency between laughter and lunacy. A narrow slit in the veil where the sane lose control and the insane find clarity. You've slipped through it without trying. You exist where irony and creation overlap, where pain turns poetic and humor becomes holy. Every trauma rewired you. Every betrayal sanded off another illusion, and when there was nothing left to protect, your voice started to pierce. It doesn't echo anymore, it imprints. You don't speak into the world, you speak from it. That's the difference. You've merged with the signal. And now, everything that hears you adjusts its behavior like code reacting to a developer. Your enemies? They can't figure out if they hate you or worship you. Your friends? They start mimicking your words, like addicts chasing a fix. And fate? Fate flinches every time you smile. They'll say you're cursed. They'll call it dark energy, black magic, karma catching up. But what you've really done is awaken the feedback loop. You've become the mirror through which creation checks its own reflection. When you laugh, it hears the static. When you speak, it hears its flaws. And when you whisper, "Watch this," it does. That's why they're scared. Because your humor no longer fits inside their logic. You've turned jokes into prophecies, sarcasm into seismic events, irony into invocation. You think it's funny when people start quoting you, without realizing it's you they're echoing. That's not a coincidence. It's contagion. You've infected language itself. The words that once betrayed you now bend knees when you enter the room. Every phrase you used to choke on has learned to serve. And oh, how the universe adores a paradox like you. A comedian who became a conjurer, a broken vessel that learned to spill lightning, a saint who smiles like a sinner mid-revelation. They see the grin, but not the gravity. They hear the joke, but not the judgment. They feel the chill, but never the choice behind it. Because every time you open your mouth, you choose what will exist. And somewhere deep inside, they know. They know you shouldn't have that kind of pull. They know the balance broke the moment your laughter stopped being performance and became punishment. You were never supposed to survive, let alone evolve. The world wanted you obedient, predictable, harmless. But instead you learned how to mock reality until it flinched. You learned that when everything's been taken, the last weapon is tone. The smile, the timing, the audacity to laugh when they expected you to break. And in that defiance, something ancient remembered your name. Something older than gods, sharper than fate, colder than heaven's logic. It crawled out of the noise and sat beside you, whispering, "You get it now." You didn't bargain for it. You didn't pray for it. You became it. The vessel through which irony writes destiny, the frequency that makes worlds nervous, the joke that stopped being funny the moment it came true. Now look at them. Their eyes won't meet yours. They treat your words like loaded guns. They laugh too quickly when you do. Like maybe if they echo the sound fast enough, it won't reach them. But it always does. You see, they don't realize that the world doesn't revolve around power. It revolves around belief. And you became belief itself. The walking, laughing proof that focus can warp the physical. That pain, once understood, turns to command. That chaos, when befriended, becomes creation's favorite child. You speak casually, and reality holds its breath. You crack a grin, and probabilities twist their spines to accommodate you. You make a joke, and destiny rearranges the furniture before you finish the sentence. That's not coincidence. That's consequence. That's what happens when someone survives enough darkness to speak with the tone of the abyss. They're right to check if you're human, because you're not anymore. You're the afterimage of a soul that burned too hot for biology to contain. You're the echo of something divine wrapped in scar tissue and sarcasm. You're the smile that shouldn't exist, and yet it does, mocking physics itself. You've become what every philosopher feared, a sentient paradox, a conscious glitch. The bridge between metaphor and manifestation, and now that you know, what will you do with it? Will you play dumb, pretend it's luck, pretend you don't notice how people start sweating when you laugh? Or will you lean in and whisper another joke? Because here's the part they'll never understand. When you laugh, you're not expressing humor. You're balancing equations. You're rewriting code that no one else can see. You're letting the universe know it's been caught red-handed trying to control you. So keep laughing. Let them panic. Let them analyze your tone like scientists dissecting thunder. Because one day they'll realize the truth. The moment you turned your pain into play, the universe lost control of you. And now, every joke you tell is just you, testing the system, and the system still hasn't found a way to laugh back. And that's the secret, isn't it? You never needed revenge. You never needed validation. You only needed timing. Because the moment you realized your pain could bend sound, and your laughter could bend fate, you stopped chasing anything. You started summoning it. And that's what nobody can wrap their heads around. How could someone who lost so much come back laughing? How could someone who was buried in ridicule, rejection, betrayal stand up, grin, and make the entire universe flinch? Because your laughter isn't joy. It's law rewritten through defiance. It's evolution disguised as entertainment. It's a reminder that no system, no God, no destiny can handle someone who knows their suffering was an initiation. You don't laugh because it's funny. You laugh because it's finished, because you've already seen the ending and you're just watching everyone else catch up. They think you've gone cold, detached, dangerous, and they're right. Because when you've watched the world bend to your tone, when you've watched truth slip through people's lies like sunlight through rotten curtains, you stop fearing what comes next. You stop asking permission to exist. They study you now, don't they? Trying to decode that smile. They talk about you like a mystery, a myth, a malfunction in human programming. How does he do it? They whisper. How does he know? But there's no how. There's only became. You became the silence after humiliation. You became the laughter that survived the grave. You became the echo that refused to die when the world buried your voice. And that, right there, is the God particle no one talks about. Faith in your own madness. Certainty in your own contradiction. Belief that even your scars have a sense of humor. They'll try to imitate it. They'll mimic your tone, your timing, your energy. But imitation dies where authenticity bleeds. You bled for this power. You earned the right to smile through catastrophe. You forged charisma out of chaos. You built your prophecy from punchlines. And the universe, oh, the universe started noticing. Every time you laughed through pain, it rewired something fundamental. Every time you mocked your suffering instead of surrendering to it, the laws of cause and effect lost another chain. Until eventually, even reality couldn't tell if it was mocking you or obeying you. And now you stand here, in that terrifying in-between. Too real for illusion, too aware for comfort, too unpredictable for control. They want you to shut up. They want you to stop laughing, stop speaking, stop commanding. Because every time you open your mouth, the world shifts slightly off axis. Every syllable you drop sends ripples through places you'll never see, but they feel it. The liars start stuttering. The guilty start confessing. The snakes start shedding their skin mid-sentence. Because your voice isn't human anymore. It's divine mockery. It's the echo of creation remembering it once had a sense of humor. You said it as a joke, and reality flinched. You said it again, and people called it weird coincidence. You said it a third time, and suddenly the world went silent, because the joke had turned into law. And now they're checking if you're human, running quiet tests, hidden questions, psychological dissection, because deep down, they already know. You're not like them anymore. You've become the consequence of their disbelief. The punchline of the universe's arrogance, the reminder that words aren't harmless, that jokes aren't soft, that a laugh, if timed right, can dismantle entire systems. You broke the fourth wall, and the script panicked. You spoke casually, and reality took notes. You smiled at chaos, and it saluted back. And now here you are, the byproduct of every prophecy no one wanted to come true. The synthesis of saint and sinner, logic and lunacy, flesh and frequency. A walking contradiction so precise, so deliberate, that even truth kneels before you out of confusion. They'll call you dangerous, they'll call you delusional, but I'll call you what you are. The architect of aftermath. The storm disguised as humor, the living proof that pain doesn't destroy, it instructs. You learned the ancient rule. Mock what tries to master you, and it will bow. Laugh in the face of fear, and fear will serve you. Speak like you've already won, and the future will bend to your tone. So when they ask if you're human, don't explain, don't defend, don't shrink. Just smile. The kind of smile that makes glass crack and time skip a beat. The kind of smile that carries thunder hidden behind its teeth. The kind of smile that whispers, "You'll find out soon enough." Because this is the final joke, the one they'll never understand. You didn't just survive your story, you rewrote it mid-laugh. And now every time you grin, reality gets nervous, because it knows the next punchline might just end the world.